What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot Time coming at you on Monday evening. It's a little after 6 o'clock. Hope everybody had a good day. It was Veterans Day today. I hope you thanked the veteran. I did not, because I didn't happen to see one. But if I did, I'd have done it. Before we get into this video, I'm going to talk about the Gamecocks here for a little bit in our matchup against Mizzou this coming up weekend. Before I get into that, if you're new around here, give a smidge of consideration to staying true around here by subscribing to this channel. Click the bell for notifications of whenever Carolina Jackpot posts a new video or goes live. We do college football content here all year long, and we have a heck of a good time doing it, let me tell you what. Also, hit the like button for me, please, if you don't mind. It helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm, getting this video pushed out to the masses, getting it pushed out to people who aren't subscribed to the channel so that they can watch it. It's free, doesn't cost you a dime. If you do it, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks in advance. Anyway, Mizzou is coming into Williams-Brice Stadium Saturday afternoon. We got a 4:15 showdown on the SEC Network, second week in a row that the Gamecocks have been in this time slot. Of course, last week, South Carolina beating Vanderbilt in Nashville 28-7. Very complete victory, in my opinion. Probably the most complete game that South Carolina's played all year against quality competition. I was glad to be able to be at that game. I like to be able to travel to a road game every so often. This year I happened to go to two. I'd been to Nashville before. I'd never been to Tuscaloosa, Alabama before, and both places are nice in their own regard. I think Nashville's just a little bit overrated, but hey, that's just me. You know, if you're into the music scene and you like pop culture and that kind of bullshit, it's probably for you. If you're not, if you're like me, then it probably ain't for you, or you could probably just feel indifferent about it. But anyway, it's an all right place to visit. A lot of traffic going to Nashville, a lot more so than there is actually in the city of Nashville. Getting and maneuvering around, I don't know what's going on here. Hospital bus. Just some weird shit going on nowadays. You know, let me have his flashers on. Sure he's not stopped out here in the middle of the cornfield picking somebody up. I don't remember what I was talking about. Anyway, Mizzou coming in with a record of 7-2. A lot of people are kind of side-eyeing that 7-2 record that Mizzou sports. But let's not forget, you look at their stat line, this team boasts the number 10 ranked defense in the country coming into here. South Carolina, you know, as much as everybody loves to talk about our defense, our pass rush, we're ranked number 12, so we're actually behind them, albeit 2 spots. And yeah, Mizzou did kind of pad those stats a little bit against a couple of turd burgers. Well, 3 turd burgers actually. Buffalo, Akron, and Murray State were all 3 on the schedule. They also played Boston College. That game is, I don't know if that looks like a good quality win or an average win or what. Boston College is kind of, they're an up and down team. They'll lose a head scratcher, but they've also beat Syracuse, and they've beaten, well, they almost beat Louisville. So, not a horrible team. But Mizzou's schedule has been decidedly easier than what South Carolina's schedule has been. They don't have any wins over ranked teams. Both the ranked teams that they played, Texas A&M and Alabama, both blew them out. They got beat by those teams by a combined score of 75-10. Yeah, taking a 34-0 lashing at the hands of Alabama, and then earlier in the season, dropping a 41-10 decision on the road at Texas A&M, which is just absolutely deplorable. And maybe that's why the Vegas line is set at South Carolina -13 right now. That's the only thing I can glean from that, is they're kind of comparing some like opponents, and you know, South Carolina just took Alabama absolutely to the wire, and then got a solid win over Texas A&M just the weekend before last. I'm not going to say that we blew Texas A&M out. Yes, we did. We did beat Texas A&M by 24 points. It wasn't a blowout. It was a blowout on paper. and on the box score, it was not a blowout if you actually watched the game and saw when those touchdowns were scored and the manner in which we were able to do it. The game was a dogfight up until the middle of the fourth quarter. So that's why maybe Mizzou's not getting a lot of respect, and it kind of has Carolina Jackpot a little bit nervous that they're getting not a lot of respect from the national media. There have been people that have actually come out and said, they've tweeted it out. I think Brad Crawford over on 24/7 Sports tweeted something out on Sunday about it, that it was cute that Eli Drinkwitz was talking about playoffs, because he mentioned playoff contention in his post-game interview after the win over Oklahoma Saturday night, which Brad Crawford put in a little clip of that and said that it's cute that he thinks that his team is nowhere near the college football playoff discussion. So it's shit like that these media members put out, these narratives that they kind of push, that coaches use for bull, especially a coach like Drinkwitz, who, well, whether you love him or whether you hate him, a lot of people have mixed reactions about this guy. He obviously is, or has at some points in time, been really good at motivating players, at getting average talent to maybe slightly above average talent to play at a really, really high level. Case in point, the things that he did last year. And this year, the team has been kind of flat. Despite the 7-2 record, like I said, the victories have been against nothing burgers, and then when they played someone actually valid, they just didn't show up. I mean, just totally got blown out from start to finish. So it would be fitting in a big game like this, where he's 7-2, he's getting absolutely zero respect in terms of playoff talk. Don't you think that he's going to get that team amped up to come into Columbia, South Carolina, and knock off South Carolina, who has just gotten ranked? Let's not forget what happened 2 years ago when South Carolina got ranked after a win at home against Texas A&M. They went out the next week and they lost to Mizzou, a team that South Carolina was as good or better than, and then was able to actually rebound from that, though, and have a pretty good end to the season. I'm pulling off some pretty miraculous wins over Tennessee and Clemson. However we did it, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about with that one. But I could definitely see him getting this team pumped up for this game. So, with that being said, if I were you, I'd definitely consider taking Mizzou to cover the spread in this game. Looking at it from a statistics point of view, that's the situational stuff I'm talking about here. The situational stuff. South Carolina coming off a big emotional win. Mizzou also coming off of a win there where they were back and forth. The game against Oklahoma was a big wet fart for 3 quarters. I think the score was 10-9 in favor of Oklahoma. Maybe going into the fourth quarter, Mizzou pulls ahead. It's kind of back and forth. They swap scooping scores on fumbles. Just a really, really sloppy game. Lots of punts, some missed field goals, just a lot of poor play on both sides of the ball. Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma looks like he hasn't seen a football before, but that's neither here nor there. Oklahoma is shitty, and Mizzou barely was able to beat them. And so he's over there beating his chest and puffing it out and talking about playoff talk. I think that might be why some of the national media people actually kind of took issue with Drinkwitz and his comments, that they seem kind of out there, kind of outlandish, kind of really chesty for someone whose team just barely escaped disaster several times and was able to come out the victor and on the better side. However, not looking real impressive while doing it. Hopefully that trend with them continues this year. This trend of just playing barely good enough to get by. You look at their list of SEC wins this year, none of them are impressive. None of them are impressive. The win against Oklahoma, Not impressive, the win against Vandy. Not impressive, the win against Auburn. Not impressive in terms of scoreboard, in terms of the amount of talent that Mizzou has on their roster, especially on the offensive side of the football, and not impressive in terms of preseason expectations from Mizzou. Yeah, they had a 9.5 over/under win total set by Vegas back in the summer. And it was kind of weird because we were looking at it. We're like, God dang, the schedule's easy, man. It's really easy. Look at this. They've got this team. They got this one. They got Mississippi State. They got South Carolina. They got UMass and blah, blah, blah. Man, they're going to win 10 games easy. But that total was heavily juiced to the under. Now, I think right now we might be starting to see why. Vegas isn't always right. They're not always right 100% of the time. But more often than not, they're right. Because as our buddy Uncle Lou says, they're not tearing down casinos and leaving empty lots. They're tearing down casinos and building bigger casinos. So they're coming out ahead most of the time. South Carolina should win this ball game. South Carolina has got to control the turnover battle once again. We put the ball on the ground a couple of times on Saturday afternoon. Was able to recover one of them. We lost one of them. Fortunately, the one that we lost, it didn't hurt us, and it's not going to hurt you against a team like Vanderbilt, but it could definitely hurt you against a team that is surging, or a team that, with some of the teams that we got left on the schedule, like the Mizzou, like Clemson on the road. You can't do that stuff. We've got to clean up those fumbles. We've got to do better than that. Just kind of around the horn here. It's other stuff. The playoff talk. This winning out playoff talk. I understand it. I like it. It's been a long time since we've had some real hype around our program. It really has. But I feel like this might be a little bit unwarranted, and I think we might really need to just pump the brakes on this right now, because if you do go, you run the table, the likelihood of South Carolina making the college football playoff with a 9-3 record is so minuscule that it's almost impossible. Yeah, there's been graphics out that say 63% chance. That's not true. It's not true. It's less than half of that. This is from ESPN, and it would take I don't remember all the different scenarios of this team beating this team and this and this. I think it would take Tennessee knocking off Georgia, thereby kind of pushing them out of the way. It's going to take Texas A&M beating Texas. It's going to take Arkansas beating Texas. Things like Arkansas beating Texas that are extremely unlikely to happen would have to happen for South Carolina to end up getting in, even with running the table. So, I feel like we may have already shot our shot on that. Yeah, and the LSU thing does sting. It sucks, guys. It really sucks, and I hate it. But there's nothing we can really say about that. We all know that we were screwed. We all know that the name on the side of the helmet meant more that day than what actually was going on the field. And I'm surprised that we don't see more of it in college football. In bits and pieces and pockets, we do. Terrible calls, terrible officiating calls. I don't know how many of you watched the Holy War on Saturday night between Utah and BYU. I actually stayed up and watched all of that in my hotel room. And the holding call on the Utah player with less than a minute left in that game on fourth down, with BYU had the football inside their own 15-yard line, they called holding. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was an egregious call. It was not holding. And then BYU goes down. They score, kicking field goal, win the game 21-19, or was it 22-21? They just robbed Utah right there in that situation. So Utah plays on the road, I think, at Colorado this week. I'm going to tell you, I think Utah goes in there and pounds Colorado because I don't think that Kyle Whittingham is the type of coach who's just going to let his team go in and fold up and close up shop. We're done for the year. This has been a disappointment. It's been fun, but we haven't met our goals. They just screwed us last week. Fuck this. We're not going to play hard. No, I think they're going to go in there and beat Colorado because I think Utah can run the football. I still think they have better lines of scrimmage than what Colorado has, and I think they're going to get beat. And I've been saying that for a couple weeks. I thought they were going to lose to Texas Tech, and it really wasn't a bad beat for a while because Texas Tech was beating them. Somehow Colorado came from behind and won the game. I really didn't watch a whole lot of it. I just some highlights. I do know that that is what transpired in that particular ball game. And I don't even know how I got off on the tangent of talking about. See, I lose train of thought sometimes. How I got on a tangent of talking about Colorado when I was supposed to be talking about the Gamecocks and Mizzou. But I mean, there's really not a lot else to say about the Gamecocks and Mizzou. It's weird to say that we've got to avoid a letdown when we're playing a team who has a better record than we do, who has kind of dominated us in the series ever since the end of the 2018 season. After the 2018 game, Mizzou has won every contest played between the Gamecocks. And I had some people say, well, we've had the better team most years too. I mean, that's not necessarily true. I mean, last year in 2023, I mean, obviously Mizzou had a better team then. I mean, they went to a New Year's Six Bowl and won it. 22, that Mizzou team actually had a lot of net close losses. I think they finished 6-6 when Carolina finished the regular season 8-4. But Mizzou's losses that year, if you combine them all up, I think it was by maybe less than 20 points. And I remember them specifically they had a close loss to Florida. They had a really close loss to Auburn on the road. It just kind of bumbled the game away. So I knew that team was probably going to be a little bit better in 23 than what we saw them in 22 because they probably were a little better in 22 than what the record would indicate that they were. So I wouldn't say that Mizzou team was better or was worse than South Carolina. So we were probably about even. 21, and that was just a weird year for Carolina. That was Beamer's first year, and the team looked like homemade shit for about the first 6 weeks, and then kind of started getting things together. That one was kind of meshed in that point where we had gotten blown out by Texas A&M, and then we went and we had the big home win over Florida, I think it was, and then we went out to Mizzou, and we were actually favored against the Mizzou team. I think it came in with a losing record, and they beat us like 31-27 or something. A game the score would make it look like it was back and forth, but they kind of blew us out a little bit, and we had to kind of make a little bit of a comeback there at the end. So I would say that South Carolina team I thought was better than Mizzou, but still lost it. The COVID year was that's a wash for Carolina. I've almost washed that one from my memory. The Mike Bobo, whatever that dumb fuck Colin Hill, that quarterback that he brought, that year was just awful. With the Muschamp firing, not Muschamp getting fired, it wasn't. That wasn't awful, but because he needed to be fired, he needed to have been fired. About 18 months earlier than that, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. And then in 19, our team, we finished up 4-8, aided by a miracle victory on the road against Georgia when Jake Fromm decided to throw pick sixes all day long like it was a hobby. And, other than that, I mean, we were a 3-9 team. So I would say Mizzou was definitely better in that one, and they did win it. So, Carolina being better than them is not true in those games. They were the better team most of the time, and they did win. We've got to, right now, I feel like the way we are playing, we look like the better team, and we should be the better team, and we should win this ball game. But I'm telling you, it's not one that they can take lightly, and it's not anything that you can go into with just supreme overconfidence, because this bunch is going to be hungry. Because as much as South Carolina feels like Shane Beamer's pumped them full of, hey, you've been disrespected. You got disrespected in the polls this week. They disrespected you here. Don't rank us, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I mean, I know he's using that for motivation. Don't think that Coach Drink is not in a locker room 700-800 miles away in Columbia, Missouri, telling his team the exact same thing. Look, they're disrespecting you. We've lost 2 games to really good teams, yada, yada, yada. You know, our quarterback's been hurt. And, you know, we've been fighting. We've been hanging in there. We had a tough victory this week. And look at this. They got you almost 2 touchdown underdogs. This team, you've beat them for the past, 6-7 meetings. And, we own them. And now they think that they're better than us. No, we're going to go in here Saturday. We're going to prove to them that they're not better than Mizzou. That's telling you. That's what he's telling them. And they're probably hearing his message. So make no mistake about it. This is going to be a tough game, guys. But it's a matchup I'm looking forward to because I do want to get the monkey off our backs. I do want to see South Carolina just absolutely just dress him down and spank his little butt black and gold Saturday afternoon in Williams-Brice Stadium. And I think that's what we're going to do. We play good, sound football. Don't turn the football over. Don't have any dumb penalties, which we've been doing a really, really good job of doing. Get some pressure on this quarterback. If Drew Pine plays, I feel like South Carolina can get pressure on him. If Brady Cook plays, I think it may even be a better thing for South Carolina because I think Brady Cook may be a little bit limited. I think he's not going to have a lot of mobility. I think if our rush ends are able to get pressure on him, which they should be able to, he's going to go down in a heap. He's not going to be able to get away from it. Drew Pine actually showed on Saturday night that he's just a little bit more athletic than what people probably thought that he was. So I would rather almost probably play Brady Cook, but we'll see. Luther Burden, the second, third, whatever he is, he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's been on a milk carton this year. People say he's been on a milk carton, but he has 500 and something yards receiving. The thing is, his partner over on the other side, Theo Weiss, has a little over 550 yards receiving. So they're kind of sharing the duties there. It's kind of 1A and 1B, and nobody's taking all the love. Nate Noel, the running back, is quietly rushed for about 600 yards so far this year. Doesn't quite have Rocket Sanders numbers, but he's not that far off, and he's been banged up a little bit too the last few weeks. So we'll have to see what goes with that. But this has a tremendous opportunity for South Carolina. This will be the end of the SEC slate, and we're sitting here, 6-3? I mean, we finish, with a 5-3 conference record? I believe I'm right in saying that. Yeah, 5-3 conference record. It's been a while since we've seen a record like that at South Carolina. It's been a long time, so that's definitely something to shoot for. We drop it, we finish 4-4, and that's not quite as impressive, not quite as much of a feel-good thing. But at any rate, guys, that's what I got to say about South Carolina versus Missouri. We should win. I think we'll win, but don't just chalk it up as a W, okay? And that 13-point spread, I ain't trusting that either. Anyway, that's about all I got to say about that, guys. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble here for about 23 and a half minutes. I'll see you guys later on. More videos to come later this week. I appreciate you. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks.